LaChrystal Ricke, Dr. LC to my friends, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about social media and business and some of the exciting things that businesses can do if they really harness social media. Now, social media is an interesting thing. We tend to think that we understand social media and we kind of play around with social media, but for businesses to be really successful with social media, they really have to figure out how to live within a social media network and how to entice their users to come to their sites and participate with their social media on a frequent basis. So today we're going to talk about some social media statistics. We're going to talk about what people are doing online, what that means for businesses, and then how businesses can better integrate social media into their overall marketing and advertising plans. So we'll start with talking a little bit about what people are doing online. So how we spend our time online is a very interesting thing for businesses because we want to know where people are. So we see here that we have about a one-to-one relationship between internet users and those who visit Google daily. Google's kind of our default for about half of our population. We have a pretty high population of people using Facebook every day, about 4 in 10 in terms of who's not just on Facebook, but on Facebook on a pretty daily basis. Internet users who visit YouTube, one of the most popular video sites, every day, we have about a 1 in 3 relationship. And then also a pretty prominent relationship between Yahoo and internet users, with 1 in 5 using Yahoo daily. And this next set of graphics shows us the top 10 sites and what we're doing how long we're staying. So Facebook and Google, like we just talked about, are our primary sites that people go to every day. Facebook actually nudging out Google just a little bit. YouTube bringing in a pretty good population, 35.4% of internet users on a daily basis, and 20% for Yahoo, like we just talked about. Then we have some other sites that people are visiting, Wikipedia, Windows Live, we have Twitter down here. If we move over to this graphic, we see how long people are staying on the sites. Now, this can be a little bit deceptive because it doesn't seem like we're maybe spending a whole lot of time, but when we take the amount of time people are spending with the number of times that they're visiting the site per day, it actually adds up to a pretty substantial amount of time. So here we have Facebook. We have about 28 minutes per use. Every time we're on Facebook, we stay about 28 minutes, but an average user is visiting Facebook nearly 19 times a day. So when we combine that, it's a pretty substantial amount of time that people are spending online. Now, if we look at things like Yahoo and YouTube, while people maybe aren't spending quite the amount of time we may have thought, they're visiting pretty frequently. And then down here at the end, we have Twitter. People are spending quite a bit of time on it. But it's a little bit different because Twitter is one of those really fast networks. We kind of get in, we jump in, and we move around. So what this means is there's an audience, there's an embedded audience for you. They are already there, they are already on this site. So the challenge then is how do you get that audience to your site and take some of those 29 minutes that they're spending on Facebook and have them interacting with you. So the other thing I want to talk about is the average internet user audience in the United States. There's a pretty big misperception when we are talking about social media users. A quote that I thought was really funny once when I started doing some of my work is that Facebook and YouTube are for young people to watch videos of cats. And while that may at one point have been a little bit true, it's definitely not the situation any longer. So if we look at some of our statistics, we see that nearly 85% of American adults use the internet at least occasionally. So that means at least once a week, most of our adults, our American adults, are logging on. Interestingly, we have a pretty equal percentage between men and women. So if you're courting a certain population, men and women are using the internet at a roughly equal amount. 98% of the internet users are between 18 and 29, probably not too shocking considering where this generation really grew up with the internet, and so they use it pretty frequently. However, 65 and over, their internet usage is growing at an increasing rate. So here we see they're at about 56% currently, and this is actually up 6% from just last year. And so this is definitely a market that if your business is courting this population, they're on there. It's just a matter of getting them to use it more frequently and get used to needing to be online. Probably also not surprisingly, about 96% of college graduates, but also high penetration rates between some college and high school graduates, 78%, 92%. Really interesting, we have a nearly equal distribution across urban, suburban, and rural areas. So no matter what the type of population you're courting, it's likely that they're online. Pretty equal distribution, a little bit lower on the rural end, but that tends to be because of internet penetration, not because of desire. Now, something interesting that I want to talk to you about is cell internet users. So we have 31% of our internet users who basically mainly use the internet for through their phone. That's the only way that they're accessing the internet. And so what that means is that as a company, we have to think about how do we translate our social media that looks really great on a computer screen to look really great on a cell phone. And we have 17% of our population that call themselves cell mostly. So that means that most of the time when they get on the internet, it's through their cell phone. They very rarely use a computer or a tablet. And so that's really important for us to think about when we're moving forward about how to engage our populations effectively. Okay, so social media statistics, these are just a few sites. There's hundreds of sites out there. So we have 1.1 billion worldwide Facebook users. This is about 750 million US users, give or take. The population fluctuates a little bit there. We have 1 billion plus unique users to YouTube each month. So what that means is that every single month, 1 billion different users are using YouTube. It's a really, really ripe area for advertising and for making fun YouTube videos that get people to follow you. We have 500 million worldwide Twitter users, 343 million Google Plus users. A lot of businesses can really find some success with Google Plus because people can kind of segment their life out a little bit better on Google Plus and follow certain things, put things in circles. And so they are following certain populations and certain companies through one circle, and maybe information that they want to keep a little bit more private, they can. So Google Plus is actually growing pretty substantially. 216 million Tumblr users, 100 million Instagram users. Instagram is a really important thing for us to pay attention to because it's photos and people love them. People share them. People respond well to visual images. And so if your company or your organization can really figure out how to create a Instagram followership and really get people following the photos, sharing their own photos about your company, it's a really good population to tap into. And then we have 48.7 million Pinterest users and some interesting things happening on Pinterest in terms of what people are able to share and create. I know a ton of my friends are on Pinterest all the time looking for things that they can create and share and make for their friends. And so also a good population to tap into there because the population of Pinterest is very loyal. They really like the site and they really use it pretty frequently. So what does all of this mean in terms of how web users think and how that fits into your business? Okay, so how do web users think? And again, this is just kind of a breakdown, definitely not an exclusive list, but something to think about. So social media is pervasive and it's growing fast. Web users like something new and trendy. They get excited by new technologies. They like to they expect experimentation and they expect innovation and technological progress. So if you can offer your followers something cool or something different, people will come because they're excited about these new things. However, they do demand speed and relevancy. They don't want to follow a page that doesn't really relate to them. And if they find out that things that are on the page maybe don't relate to them later on, they're likely to stop following it or stop checking it regularly. The other thing is you have to be speedy. You have to make sure that you are providing information on a pretty frequent basis. You don't want your site to go dead. It's very easy to build a population, but if you can't sustain that population, it's much more difficult to get those people to come back because once they become bored or uninterested or find your site not relevant to them, the likelihood that you're going to be able to entice them back is somewhat challenging. The other thing important is centralized information and interaction. People like to interact with other people that like things that they like. So what this means is that if you can centralize things, centralize your target audience, and get your audience interacting not just with you, but with one another, then the likelihood that people are going to come back to that site, look for those status updates or those photos or those tweets is much higher. People will engage if you give them the opportunity. So if you do fun little things like caption contests and things like that on your photos, while maybe not necessarily totally necessary for your business plan, you need to keep people on your page. And so things like this, giving them the chance to engage with you is something really important in terms of keeping your numbers and your audience attentive and active. So the big but here is that attention can be really fleeting. There are so many things happening on social media that if you can't keep their attention, then they're going to go somewhere else. And so you really need to think strategically about how can we keep our audience here, coming back every day? What can we offer them that makes our page or our social network a place that they want to be, and a place that they go for information, and a place that they go to interact. Another big thing with web users, and I'm sure some of you have probably seen this, is that if consumers are not happy about something, social media seems to be the first place that they go. They will blast out on social media if they're unhappy with something, if they got poor customer service, if they got a bad product. They typically will do this before they ever even try to contact the company through other email or phone call or anything of that nature. So they'll go online to complain, they chat out to their friends, they post on other pages. So it's really important that you make sure that you're monitoring what people are saying on your social media page, so that if something like this happens, you can kind of get out in front of it. So the next thing we're going to talk about is, what does all of this mean for organizations? And there's a lot of implications that come out of people's social media use. So what does this mean for organizations? One, really great customer base expansion. You can reach out to people that did not even know your product or your organization existed, and you can do it pretty easily. So it's a reliable platform to explore audience perception of the organization's culture. What do they think about us? What are they saying about us? What are they posting to our page? What questions are they asking us? Another cool thing that you can do in social media is you can develop these third-party relationships to help direct internet traffic. In my non-academic life, I run a pretty successful page for my dog, and I know that sounds pretty funny. We have about roughly 7,000 Facebook fans for a page that was dedicated to our dog. We now run a nonprofit through it, and we have figured out how to direct traffic. And what we can do is we can go out to other pages and say, hey, we really love your page. Would you share our page and we'll share yours? And then if you have a product or a company that you maybe have similar values with, you can help use those third parties to direct internet traffic to your own site. We have enhanced customer relationship opportunities also. We can really brand our organization and our products through our Facebook page or our Twitter page or other social media. There's been some really successful campaigns that have done this really purely online and really gotten people to not just come to the page, but interact through the page, share through the page. So you can really do some cool branding opportunities. And all of these opportunities can impact sales, customer satisfaction, and product reputation. Also have increased opportunities for customer retention because we can really speak one-on-one to our social media users. We can speak directly to our population and say, here are the things that we think that the values and things of that nature that are important to you that are also important to this company. And we can do really cool things like offer specific incentives for just our social media fans. So we can do things like offer coupons or discounts. Some organizations have made fun little games that only run through these pages. I know that I definitely follow pages that give me coupons for things that I already like. And then I'm more likely to go back to those pages to see what's happening and their incentives in the future. So a couple more things this means for organizations. It's easily and accessible options for market research. I'm going to show you a slide here in a minute that will help you understand this a little bit better. Social media platforms really will develop a lot of insights for you. So it's really great and affordable market research. You can see who's using your pages, when are they using it most frequently, what time of day are they on, what is their gender, what is their age, their demographics. And so you can get a lot of great information from the market research, essentially, that these social media outlets are producing for you. And they do that because they want you to stay on their platform. They want you to continue to do advertising and things like that through their platform because they make money. So it's really important for these organizations and these platforms to give you that information. Another important thing on the PR standpoint is the ability to get ahead of issues that are potentially negative for a product or organization. Remember a few slides back, we talked about the fact that people will go to social media if they're upset. They want their friends to know they're upset. They want some social support from their network about being upset about a product or something of that nature. And so in a situation like this, you can really kind of pay attention to what's happening, what people are talking about, and it lets you get ahead of any negativity. You can come out then, you saw this happening online, and then you can come out and release a statement or a video or something of that nature that gets ahead of this kind of PR issue. You can also get a pretty interesting competitive advantage when you are using social media effectively. And I like to call it listening. You can listen to social media. And what that means is that and we can take this back to our previous point about getting ahead of an issue, you can see what's happening. You can go to competitors' social media sites, see what's trending on their pages, see what people are commenting on. Gives you a little bit of a competitive advantage there also. And then also the ability to really listen to your market. You don't have to wait for sales to fall or for complaints to come in to really see what people are paying attention to and what's trending. If you really pay attention, again, to those insights that are created by the social media outlets, you can see on what day did what thing trend. I know, for example, on my pages that anything that I put a photo with trends better than just text. And so anything I actually want people to pay attention to or that I want to generate funds through or something of that nature, I always put a photo with it because I know that that photo is more likely to get shared, more likely to get commented on than just the plain text itself. Here's the best part of social media. It's very, very cheap. Very inexpensive ways to engage in PR, sales, customer relations. Very low cost, very easy to spread our message pretty wide for not a lot of money. Even if you are paying for advertising and things of that nature, it's much more inexpensive through social media than it would be through a more mainstream media like television or print. So now I'm going to talk to you really quickly about striving for social media success. What do you need to do to be successful in social media? Now, this is not, again, not an exclusive list, but definitely some things that you want to think about. The first thing is you always have to be present. You have to be there. You have to have a social media presence, not just a social media page. People want to see you updating information, providing them up-to-date information that's relevant to them, that's happening right now. So this is not a 9-to-5 relationship. I know through my personal pages, my highest peaks are on Friday night and Saturday morning. Definitely not the times that I want to necessarily be online engaging with people, but that's where my audience is, and that's when I have to make the most of my social media pages. The other thing is that you have to give your audience an incentive or reason to come back to social media every single day. Most social media users see about 10% of what's posted on the pages that they follow on an average day, because there's so much information out there that you would go crazy if you got every single update, every single photo, every single Instagram picture that everyone that you follow posted. So we have to give our audience an incentive to be active users. We have to give them an incentive to come to our page on their own accord, not just hoping that we show up in their feed on whatever social media site that they're on, but we want them to say, hey, I'm going to go to this page today and see what's going on, see what incentives they're offering, see what people are up to. So again, we have to be present, we have to be consistently present, and we have to encourage our audience to come back to us instead of just hoping that they come across us. We can also use social media really effectively to amplify other marketing strategies. There's a lot of research that says when we use social media on its own to generate sales and things of that nature, it's not necessarily all that effective. Most recent research is saying about 3% of sales is coming just from social media, where we have about 33% or higher coming from other types of campaigns. So as itself, it needs a little bit of work. But if we can kind of package it in with other types of marketing campaigns, we're really successful. The other thing is social media is a great venue for test marketing campaigns. It's very inexpensive. If it doesn't work, you know almost instantaneously, because your fans will definitely let you know if something's off or something not working for them. And so before you spend the money to go out into a print or a radio or televised campaign, you can really test market really inexpensively through using social media. Sorry about that. Okay, so this is a graphic that I wanted to show you about using the insights on our page. So we really want to focus on engagement, making the post relevant to our specific and intended audience, and delivering consistent and relevant information. So this is a little insight I pulled off Facebook for one of my pages. And it says I have 88% that are women, and that's actually really good for what I do, because they tend to be the ones that are the most likely to donate to the causes that I try to get them to participate in. So this 11% men for a lot of companies would probably not be ideal, but for what I do, it's actually pretty perfect. Then we can see where I stack up between Facebook users. Obviously, I have a very different demographic than the majority of Facebook. I don't have a ton of 13 to 17-year-olds, but that's okay, again, for what I do. And we can see here that my primary population is right in this area. And again, for what I tend to do with my pages, it's very good. I do a lot of fundraising, and these are people that tend to have a little bit of disposable income. And even if they're just giving me a few dollars, helping me get to my goal. So this is just one example of the really great insights that the social media pages will actually create for you. I didn't do any of this. I just went into my insights page, took a little screenshot of it so I could share it with you. So really using those insights to generate your campaigns. The other really cool thing about the insights is they'll tell you that this population really liked this post. And so what you can do with that then is to say, okay, well, if I need to reach this population again, I know what kind of post I need to create for them. So I'm going to end the day with a little discussion about optimization. You cannot just put a social media page together and assume that people will flock to it. Unfortunately, as much as nice as that would be, that's not the case. Again, remember, we have to kind of live in the social media world a little bit. So we want to monitor our search engine standings, and there's a couple of ways you can do that. Google Toolbar offers you some options with that, and there's a lot of great companies and organizations out there that help you monitor these standings. You want to track also where your visitors are coming from. A lot of the social media outlets will give you options for that. I can see who's coming off of certain web pages that I share or who's coming from Google. So it's really important to kind of figure out where they're coming from, because then that's where you want to market. You definitely want to use that as effectively and efficiently as possible. Next point, keywords. Keywords are so important because if someone's looking for us, we want to make sure that they can find us. So we want to use the same and consistent keywords throughout our site. We want to make sure that anytime we title or content or URLs or things of that nature, they all have similar keywords in common. And I think the best trick is if you were looking for your site, what would you search? What would be the words that you would put in to find yourself? And then capitalizing on those words. And then linking back to yourself, making sure that anytime you're posting out there to social media, that you're linking to your other social media pages, that you're linking back to, if you have a main company web page, you always want to create those links, because the more links you have back to the same sites, then the higher you're going to be up on your search engine standings. And then finally, most importantly, and this kind of run through our whole conversation today, update your content frequently. The more things that are new and refreshed and recent, the higher you're going to be in your search engine standings, and the more attention you're going to draw through your social media platforms. So you really have to work to entice people to come back and to update content frequently so that they come back and look at something new. I don't want to go back to a web page that has all the same things that I already saw. If your social media page has something on Monday that I see again on Friday, I'm probably not too likely to come back the following Monday. So thank you for listening to me today, and just a little brief overview of social media and business. There's lots of really cool things that you can do with social media, and your audience really will engage with you if you give them the opportunity to. So my main suggestion for you would be to get out there, play with things, see what people are responding to, and really try to figure out what is your audience interested in and what's going to make them come back to your social media pages. This is a lot more fun, trust me from personal experience, engaging with fans than continually posting and not having people respond back to you. So thank you so much, and have a great day.